Good afternoon. It is the appointed hour, so I'll call to order the March 29th meeting of the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority. Item 2 is items from the chairman. I don't have any formal thing on here, but I just thought I'd let some of you that have been on the trust for quite a while know. I saw Pat Downs the other night and talked to Pat, and he seemed to be doing very well. Was in good spirits and was eating dinner with some friends and passed along to say hello to everybody on the trust. So it was good to see Pat. Hadn't seen him in a while. For those of you that don't know, Pat was our development director on the River Trust for a long time, and kind of got the River Trust to where it is today. So. Okay, item 3 is the minutes from the February 15th meeting. Any changes or corrections? Need a motion? We have a motion and a second. Cast your vote. And that passes. Item 4 is the consent docket. We have the oil and gas revenue report and the river corridor events update. Any questions on either one of those?
It was good to see the revenues up in comparison to a year ago. I said it was good to see the revenues up in comparison with a year ago.
Well, oil's up. We'll see how long that lasts. It's always good. Any motion? Cast your votes. Item 5 is the primary agenda items. A is the river maintenance project update.
Jay Shumway, Oklahoma City Public Works. The river maintenance project update for the month of March is this. Sediment removal continues from a previous contract. Several hundred truckloads go out every month. Hopefully that'll be completed soon. The dredge has been bid, and actually we anticipate that will be here Thursday of this month. So we're continuing to work through some of the permitting for that activity as we speak. Our SCADA contractor continues to work on various items along the river. And our hydraulic repairs have been going very well. We've now completed all the cylinder replacements for all 3 of the dams, and the last 2 inventory cylinders arrived at our shop just earlier today. Our structural investigations that were completed. We're just waiting on the final report there so we can see what type of repairs that we might need to do to any of the dams. And our river maintenance facility addition has completed design and is now under review by city staff, hopefully with some more information on that next month. And our river maintenance crews removed a little over 2 tons of debris from the river for the month of February. Are there any questions?
Back on the hydraulic cylinders.
Yes.
You said you used the last 2 of inventory, but we're having the ones we take off rebuilt and put in inventory. We've always got some spares going.
Correct.
Okay.
And those, basically we've removed 2, add 2 immediately. That gets the gate back in operation. And as we cycle through, we'll take these last pair and we'll put those in our stockpile, our stock inventory.
On the dredge, is that something we're going to take in and out of the water, or are you going to have to dock it somewhere?
That activity will intend to be primarily in the water. Occasionally it may have to be removed. A trailer is coming with that dredge to allow us to move it from site to site. Ideally, we're going to be passing through the boat locks if we do dredging from one basin to another. But to get to our dedicated sedimentation pond, we'll have to trailer it there, and it'll be moored at that site.
Okay. Any questions on the report? Thank you.
Thank you.
Need a motion to accept that? We have a motion and a second. Cast your vote. And that passes. Item B is the quarterly River Sport Foundation update. Mike, is that you or Stephen?
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Knopp, Executive Director of Riversport. It's great to be here today. I'd give you an update of what has been going on the last few months. There's been a lot, and you may have seen in the paper a couple of the most recent announcements. Chairman Mars had mentioned Pat, and it would be remiss without starting this by saying that about this time every year I think about Pat, because I recall, but it was literally, and I feel like I'm dating myself, but about 25 years ago that I invited Pat out to Lake Overholser, to the North Canadian River, where I had this spring training program where the Topeka Rowing Club came to Oklahoma City, and we thought that was a big deal that they came to spend their spring break training on our river at Lake Overholser. And I did that to show Pat, this is what rowing really is, and this is what it could be if you can imagine this downtown on what was then a ditch, but what could be our river, at some point. And thankfully, Pat, even though he got stalled on the middle of the river because there was a story behind that, and it was sleeting and all kinds of, he believed in it, and he believed in me, and here we are, and we're getting ready to talk about Russian relocated events from Russia to Oklahoma City because of our river. It all started back then. So this is our quarterly presentation. David, if you want to. This is a quick update, just to give you a kind of a refresher on how where our revenue comes from, and then our expenses. As you can see, a good chunk at 34% comes from adventure sales, and then contributed support is obviously the second largest. Both of those things have been very challenging through COVID. We were on an upward trajectory, and then we hit COVID, and then because of our closure and because of the restricted, we just couldn't put people together in the boats, or we didn't have the raft guides to meet capacity because we couldn't get them into the country. Various things like that. So that was a challenge, and then the contributed support obviously also was impacted by that, as it was for all nonprofits in Oklahoma City, as well as sponsors. And then the total expenses, the payroll is obviously is our largest chunk, and that is absolutely critical and tied to the adventure sales. We have to have the staff to be able to pull off the revenue, and that was one of the challenges that we're continuing to work through, which is, if you could help spread the word, we need to have, it could be, high school kids, college kids, adults coming and working in our adventures, guest relations, all of those areas. And then one of the key areas is raft guides. Those are highly trained positions. Traditionally, we have brought about half or more, actually more than half of our guides from around the world, and then that was cut off the last couple of years. So really impacts the capacity, and we're a little far down the list. We're hoping to bring some in this year, but so we're in a very significant hiring campaign now, and that's really, really important as we kind of come out of COVID. So if you go on to the next. This is an idea. We did see we did start to see the signs of coming and turning the corner last year as we were able to open more, although our capacity was very restricted. It was much better than 2020. So we're on the way back out. And you can see that in all our season pass sales, our group sales. We're very encouraged by the season pass sales to date, that people are wanting to be outside and be active, and I think that's one of the things that came out of COVID too, more people recognizing the benefit of being outside, and we're all trying to build this active outdoor lifestyle culture through our initiatives. So that's something we're encouraged by. The group sales have been very good. We just had, for example, a lot of different things happen at the river. I mean, we had a Bitcoin conference last weekend. We have more weddings than you can imagine. I mean, so there's a lot of variety of things, esports tournaments. There's just a lot of different things that will happen, and we're certainly a unique place for people to have their events. So let's move on. This is one of the things that's catching up to us because of COVID, is the mounting deferred maintenance. This is a world-class, one-of-a-kind venue, and it's and so to keep it up, there's a lot of things that have to be done. In particular, we are, and I'll touch on this more, but I think I've shared with you previously that the International Olympic Committee, the International Canoe Federation, did a study on our venue back last year tied to the Super Cup event. There was a very deep dive into our Whitewater Center in particular, because we talked about that being how we could potentially position Oklahoma City for major international events. They delivered the report to me, and they were surprised. They were like, we had no idea that this venue was what it, as good as it is. In fact, they say with a few tweaks, which are in our capital improvements, not major, we're sitting on the premier whitewater venue in the entire world. I mean, that's better than London and Paris and Tokyo. So it has really opened the eyes up to the international community. And so we've seen a real change. So we've been asked to bid on 6 major international events between now and 2026, which make some of these improvements now that the eyes of the world are on us. And to be honest, it happened a little faster than we thought, because I didn't expect to get a call 2 weeks ago at 10 o'clock at night saying, we've got these events in Moscow. The first place that came to mind was Oklahoma City. And so it's a great signal in terms of the position we hold now, but we have to get some things done. So that's what that is, if we can move on. And then the publicity and reach has been really interesting. Dude Perfect, I don't expect any of you to be avid followers of Dude Perfect, but your kids or your grandkids or whoever it may be, it's one of the most popular YouTube shows. They did an episode in our Rapids, and it's garnered now well over, I think, nearly 12 million views. That has led to, we're going to actually have a live version for everyone, which is going to be, another announcement we made, which is Red Bull Rapids, which is one of Red Bull's largest international events. It's never been in America. That will be in August, and so basically people can build their own raft and race and compete down our channel. But Dude Perfect was an example of what that looks like. The Bachelor filmed an episode, or part of an episode, out at Riversport. We had to keep very quiet about it, but it aired about a month ago. So that was national publicity. If you happen to be a fan of The Bachelor, you may have seen that. And then, of course, our international event last August that was televised globally around the world. They said the viewership was quite high. And you have to understand these sports that we have at the river are very global. They're very big in Europe. I mean, so, in some cases, it's like football or basketball in some countries. And so we were on prime time television in Europe last August. That will occur again with these new events that we inherited this August, which we'll talk about. Go ahead. Another very important initiative is our diversity inclusion initiatives. And I've gotten to know Arshay Cooper over the past couple of years, and was able to have him come out a couple of months ago. Unfortunately, he was on the sleet storm week. But he did speak to Rotary, and he did go and visit F.D. Moon Middle School and Douglas High School in the span of an hour and a half. He had 100 kids signed up to start rowing. And so that's a very powerful initiative. He speaks all over the country. He's backed by people like Common and Dwayne Wade, and he was very impressed by Oklahoma City, so much so that he's coming back on May the 5th and 6th, and we're going to do a major event at the river that's going to be a kind of a big learn to row day. We have over 400 kids already signed up to come. And then it's a matter of, then the real work begins about keeping these kids engaged and go through summer camps and all of that. But it's very powerful. Again, he's all over the country, and he has if you have not watched the documentary Most Beautiful Thing, it's on Amazon Prime and Peacock now. Very powerful story that he's the subject of in the book that he wrote, and it's going to be a scripted series now on Amazon, and of course we're talking to him about that too here. So that is something that we're really enthusiastic about. We're also working with the Northeast community about having a major event at the river called the River Bowl in late July or early August. That will be an event that brings the community down to get involved in the river activities. So go ahead. Then, again, I mentioned before the world-class events and expos. In addition to these bids which actually will lead up to a world championship in 2026 on our Whitewater Center, this is something that I'm presenting this weekend to the group that's competing in Switzerland about our venue, and as well as about 5 other events. We are having in May the Pan American Championship on our Whitewater course, which means Central South American countries are coming here. We also have our Central Youth Rowing Championship, which is one of the largest rowing regattas in the country at that time. Same the week after. So it's going to be a busy May. And then we just had the freestyle national team trials on our Whitewater Center over spring break, which is kind of like the gymnastics of kayaking. People are doing flips and tricks, and they were qualifying for a world championship, and brought a whole new crowd of people out, which was why we had the RV, which we talked about last time. And that went over. They were very appreciative of that opportunity and had extremely high marks about Oklahoma City, great reviews. And then the Swiftwater Rescue Championship, I do want to mention this. This is a really big deal for us that we're working with Oklahoma City Fire Department and OSU to present the country's premier Swiftwater Rescue Training Conference, and we're turning it into a championship. So first responders will actually compete in doing the skills that ultimately will save lives. And Red Bull is behind that, and so it'll also be televised. And so that will be right after the Red Bull Rapids. And so yet another great thing is going to bring people in from all over the country. There's already people that have registered from Florida and the West Coast. So go ahead and move on. And I just talked about that. So yeah, we think, again, the opportunity, we have the best venue, we believe, in the country for this sort of training. And so that's something. We're going to have a lot of other training that happens in conjunction with that. So good. And then we're bringing back our corporate programs now with our corporate rowing league, our dragon boat league, and our rafting leagues. This is something that's always been popular, and it's good to see people coming back out for those. Go ahead. And then the youth leagues, we have that. Those are currently back in session. We have nearly about 14 schools now, and growing. Again, FD Moon just started last week, and we've got some kids from Douglas that are starting, and that's going to expand over the summer, both downtown and at Lake Overholser. Go ahead. And then Thrive Outside is a program that's really important that we continue. As you recall, we were one of 4 cities in America that became the pilot program for this initiative, and it's gone very well in the eyes of the Outdoor Industry Association. So we've had over 85,000 hours of outdoor recreation and 4,200 kids that have gone through this program, and it's meant to be repeatable experiences, and it's about building culture, not just one-time experiences. And so there's many different things, as you can see, are tied to that. One new thing, though, that we're really excited and I think is very timely is the Outdoor Adventure Therapy program that we're starting with OU. This is something that, water has a very, powerful impact on mental health. When you're around the water, when you're outside in general, but, this is something that we believe is, it's again, evidence-based outdoor adventure therapy program that I think will really be an innovative opportunity to get to make another impact. So, go ahead. The River Protectors Program, which we've talked about before, is really continuing to grow and build momentum to the extent now that Eote Coffee is putting their coffee beans in custom bags for river protectors, and we use those bags for the cleanup efforts. And literally every week there's people coming out and participating in this program. So it's and again, we were with Oklahoma City Beautiful awarded the Vision Award by Keep Oklahoma Beautiful, and now other communities are interested in picking up on this, including the Illinois River community in terms of keeping that river clean. So we're actually providing them the information. I think this is a way that we can actually, over time, change behaviors and make people more aware of when you throw your cup out, it ends up at the river, So, go ahead. The Compass Roads Leadership Program is now well underway. This is another strategic area that we feel like will be Number one, it'll be great to leverage our unique resources, but also be a revenue generator. It's in partnership with OCU and Leadership Oklahoma City. We've gone through several pilot experiences and now have our first official one this week on Thursday and Friday. It's a 2-day program. We have a company coming out. I think people are going to see this as a very unique, highly valuable program. So we encourage this. We hope the word spreads on this because no one has what we have. The fact that we have these great meeting facilities, you can walk out the door and get it in an Olympic, get coached by an Olympian, get on the water, go whitewater rafting. So obviously the focus now is this is more local, but we think it actually has a national opportunity as well. So. And then the winter, we have always had a challenge of keeping people engaged at the river during the winter from a revenue standpoint. So we created the Winter Glow and then added these, we call them Riversport Nordic Adventures with skating, climbing features. We had a donor that supported this entire initiative about putting that up, which really allowed us to keep activities going and helped season pass sales. It allows us to just keep the momentum so it doesn't go totally dark in the winter. And we were very pleased with the response, so we think it's a great platform to build upon in the future. We also obviously have our programs that go on throughout the winter and some indoor events, but now having indoor, go ahead to the next one slide. You can see back there on just if you can go back, David, real quick, sorry, I had messed. You can see on the second floor of the Whitewater Center, I just think it's kind of interesting to show that on one level we had an indoor rowing race, and on the other, looking out the window, people skiing. I can promise you that's the only place in the world that ever has had that happen. So the skiing, go ahead, has been very, very popular. I mean, there's always people skiing, and I think more as the winter went along, people were understanding that, gosh, I can save a lot of time, by coming to Riversport before going to Colorado, teaching your kids to ski. And so we're really excited about that. It's really in our formula of providing unique outdoor-oriented experiences that you would never get to have in Oklahoma City. Go ahead. Barquet is well underway. It's much, the foundation is in. It's going to start going vertical in the next week or two. They're scheduled to open in in December, and so we're working very closely on them on a plan and a program that'll, again, I think add to the winter activities to bring people down throughout that season. And then to the right is the bike park. We did receive a $300,000 grant from the Trails. It was a Trails grant with the state, and we have another grant that is under consideration right now, and the bike park has been very popular, but there's very little infrastructure over there, so we'll be adding restrooms and other features that will enhance the park as well as additional trails. And actually, for example, Red Bull wants to bring a major event here next year related to the bike park. So there's a lot of different opportunities and how that can impact just people's experience at the river, and it's free to go with your bike, but we'll have a little cafe there so people, and one thing to point out, if you look to the left, if you have not been down there, you'll notice the new trail that Melinda may tell you about, but it's going around the Boathouse District, and it will connect basically the Riversport really becomes a hub, for the whole trail system. You could start and go east or go west and end up, before you know it, on a 50 or 60 mile an hour bike ride, So having a cafe and having facilities to support the trail users is envisioned there as well. So go ahead. And then we just opened our adventures. You can go ahead with spring break. And then we had the freestyle team trials. We were really happy with the amount of people that came out over spring break, so that was a good sign. We have our Champagne and Oysters event, which benefits our Olympic hopefuls. On May 6th and 7th, the Pan American Slalom Championships, and then actually that same time period, we have the Central Youth Rowing Championships going on the river. So, and I mentioned before, we're now hiring, really trying to, there's so many different areas that we could use help in the raft guides. So, and then this, you can't see, it's a video. The mayor actually posted it. Encourage you to take a look. This is basically the video that was produced to showcase Oklahoma City as we were we're bidding on these international events. And I think it's pretty compelling to see where we are. So, and that's everything. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
As we come out of
Questions
the
for Mike?
pandemic and hopefully see a lot of growth this summer, you mentioned the guides and having to go, you just don't go to Texas and find them, you have to go all over the world. How many guides are you trying to find, and how hard is that to do?
Well, Council, it's pretty challenging, only because, I mean, we're trying to grow our own, to be honest. But again, that was difficult to do during COVID because of the classes that have, it's something that takes, it's a very, you know, if you get 30 people in a class, you might get 5 that end up doing it. And so we could use at least 30, and we have probably 15. We have 24 local. A lot of those only work. That's the big problem, is a lot of, when they're local, this is not their full-time job. When it's an international guide, this is all they do. They're guiding in our winter in, you know, South America. So, you know, at least 30 is the goal, and then we'll continue to grow our own and build, yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Mike, what are your grant availabilities for these young people that are wanting to row? Because they come from schools where I'm sure the parents do not have those kind of funds.
Yeah, when we target the kids at the Title I schools, we make clear that there's no expense involved, and that really the burden, I mean, it becomes on our end. So we find the grants to subsidize those kids. We never say no or never turn a child away. That's one of we have some significant initiatives underway now as from a fundraising perspective to support the dramatic growth I think we're going to see because of the R.J. Cooper influence on that. So, and then like the Thrive Outside program helps support those initiatives. The Thrive Outside initiative, just to be clear, that was a 3-year program that was funded by the outdoor industry. That is now over, so we have to sort of make up that amount, but we've submitted some other grants to help do so.
I was able to be at Rotary when Mr. Cooper presented. He was quite impressive.
Yeah. He's very impressive, and he's again well known all over the country, really the world, and he's got a lot of, you know, entertainment industry, sports figures that are behind him. And in fact, after seeing, because we couldn't go to all these other schools that we planned to go to because of the ice, he did a deep dive review. We showed him the Boathouse District and all the facilities. He was really blown away. And he is planning to do a major diversity inclusion sports conference. And he's decided he wants to do that here because of our facilities. So a lot of things could come as a result of that relationship.
Mike, can you talk about the things that you're offering for summer school, summer camps and things? And are there ways for scholarships for some of the kids?
Yeah. Well, yes, we have a whole series of camps that are starting, adventure camps. We have our sports-specific camps like rowing and kayaking, which we encourage kids to get involved in if they want to see a pathway to rowing at their schools. Like we see like some of these schools starting teams in the fall, or they already have teams. And so we have scholarships available for kids who can't afford that. And the information's on our website of how they can apply. And then the adventure camps are the same thing. Kids in the adventure camps get to try everything. They get to learn to ski and go whitewater rafting and kind of get a taste of everything. And then they can then decide what direction they want to go in terms of getting involved in a program. We work with other groups like the YMCA, the Parks Department, the Latino Community Development Agency to bring kids out as well. So.
Cool. Thank you.
You got a whole lot of spare time, don't you, Mike?
A whole lot of gray hair.
Any other questions for Mike? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good report. I need a motion to accept that. Cast your vote.
Good presentation.
That passes. Item C is an activity and use agreement with the Oklahoma City National Memorial Foundation for the Memorial Marathon, April 23rd and 24th. Due to, as we've done in the past, due to time constraints, this has already been approved by council, so we're here today to simply accept that. Any questions on it? Motion? Cast your vote. That passes. Item D is a first renewal of a lease agreement with Samuel Owens for livestock grazing on the property at 1420 South Portland. This is the first renewal on this lease. He's been there for a while, and we do a one-year lease with 2 renewals if both parties agree, and this is on that. So it's the same thing he's been doing down there for a while. I need a motion. Cast your votes.
Trustee Williams, how do you vote?
And that passes. Item E is a project agreement with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation to install 2 light detection and ranging test installations on our property south of the Oklahoma River near I-35. From what I understand, the Department of Transportation is putting these sensors up to give them a test run to see if it's something they can use across the state to detect things that are in the water, going downstream in the water, that may do harm or may clog things up or may cause problems, and they can detect it with they hope they can detect it with these things. So this is a test project for us. It's my understanding that after the project is finished, they'll share the results with the city and show how it works and all of that, and actually offer the equipment to stay there and become the city's equipment if it's something that we want to use in the future. So this is going to be where I-35 crosses a river. It'll be on the south bank. 2 poles, as I understand it. There's a drawing in our packet showing where those will be. One question I've got, Stephen or Mike, have you all heard about this at all? Okay. From what I've read on this, it's an infrared detector, so I don't think it's going to cause any problems down there. But if you could get somebody with DOT with them, so that if they're having events down there that are timed, and if they're at night and they're lighted or whatever, they'll have some idea of what's happening down there. Okay? Okay. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I want to make sure you all are aware of it since it's going to be on your race course. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on page 2 of the document where it says no cost to Okura or the city, it did say beyond administrative supervision of the site. So is that just our normal supervision or security? Or will there be a required supervision of that area?
That I don't know. We can find out the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't, my guess would be, since it's right at I-35 crossing, it may be a little hard to get to, number one. And I don't know how much security you're actually going to need, but I assume they'll put fences up or something around it. But we can find out.
Thank you.
David, if we could find out the answer to that. Any other questions? I need a motion. Cast your votes. That passes. Item F is a permanent easement for project SD 3534, a sanitary sewer main extension to serve the Renaissance Park single-family housing addition using our property near Northeast 23rd and Bartell Road. This is a small strip of property that we have jurisdiction over. There wouldn't be any use that we would ever have for it. And he's coming across 23rd, as I recall, and hitting our easement and getting over to where he can hit a sewer. And as you can tell by the item, he's paying a little over $53,000 for that easement, which is, I guess, what you call market value on that. Any other questions? Need a motion? Cast your vote. And that item passes. Item G is a lease agreement with Epic Paintball near Northwest 10th and County Line Road. This is something that we've discussed a couple of times in the past. Gentleman trying to put in this paintball park. And what this is doing is giving him, the lease that he had with us is about to expire. But due to COVID and everything else that's going on, he's asked for an extension or another lease agreement. We've agreed to, Kathy's committee looked at this, I believe, Kathy, and we've agreed to give him another year to start what he's saying he's going to do and see if he can get that thing going at that point. And of course, he's been told if he can't get something going, then we'll pull the lease back. So, any other questions on it? Kathy, you have any other comments on it?
No, that's exactly what we did. We gave him 1 year to complete a list of items so that we knew that this was going to be something he could do.
Need a motion? Cast your vote. No. That passes. Item H is a lease agreement with Lost Lakes LLC to use the Riverfront Redevelopment Authority property near Sunny Lane Road, south of Northeast 10th to 23rd, conjunction with adjacent private property. This is the lease that they've had, and we're redoing the lease on it. Nothing changing much. I know that Roger's here if you got any questions on it. Need a motion? Roger, did you want to talk on it at all? If nobody's got a question? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Cast your vote. And that passes. Item I is an amendment number 6 to the lease and operation agreement with the Riversport Foundation for lease and operation of the MAPS 3 whitewater facility. The main points of this amendment, item 6th amendment, it does another operating management fee of $1.5 million for fiscal year 22-23. It also has a $1 million payment as COVID-19 pandemic-related supplement for the losses that they've suffered down there. And we're bringing the, if you recall, every year we get an inventory from them on our river race course equipment. They've been fronting any items that had to be repaired or replaced on that. This agreement puts it under the same conditions that they have for all their other things, and that is they pay for anything that happens unless it's over $25,000, and then the city will fund that. And it also allows them to expand the membership of their board up to 25 members to encourage a more diverse membership. That's the high points. Any questions on it? Need a motion? Cast your vote. And that passes. Item 6 is the claims docket. Any questions on the claims docket? Need a motion? Cast your vote. That passes. Item 7 is any staff comments. We have the director's written report. Melissa?
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Melinda McMillan Miller, Director of Oklahoma City Parks and Recreation. In your packet, you'll see multiple different items, and I'm glad that Mike mentioned about the Greenway Trail, and it was not included in this report, and it's something that's pretty important. It's a great connection now between the river trails to the Katy Trail, to Eagle Lake Trails, the Tinker Draper Trail, Grand Boulevard Trail. It is an ultimate connector route. And so it will go from Lincoln Boulevard near the Boathouse District, and will go due east and then slightly north and up to northeast 4th Street, and then head back westward along 4th Street, connecting to the Katy Trail at Douglas Park. It'll be a great connector. We'll get, again, the Grand Boulevard Trail connected to it. We'll get the Tinker Draper Trail connected to it, and kind of be able to get that nexus connection under the existing spaghetti bowl of I-35 and I-40 interchange. So we're really excited, and that progress is moving really rapidly. It's been great to see that bond project move forward as rapidly as it has at this point. Then you'll see also through the Okana property where the Okana and the Chickasaw Nation will help us complete that little incident right in there between the First Americans Museum and the Okana development. So that will be coming up down the road as Chickasaws continue to build that development in that property. So we're excited to have them as partners in that location too. So if there's any other questions about the report in front of you, I'm happy for you to receive it.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Motion to accept that report. Cast your vote. That passes. Any comments by trustees? Any citizens wishing to be heard? We are adjourned.